You boot up your computer. You click the Windows Start menu, and what do you see? Not your programs, not your files. An advertisement for Disney Plus. An advertisement for TikTok. Recommendations for apps you never asked for. Microsoft is running ads in the Start menu now. The core interface you use dozens of times every day is now an advertising platform. And users are done. They're not complaining on Reddit and staying put. They're leaving Windows entirely, switching to Linux in numbers Microsoft can't ignore anymore. If you want to see how a tech giant destroys its own product through pure greed, you're in the right place. Subscribe now because this story gets worse with every update Microsoft pushes. The Start menu ads started appearing in January 2024. Quietly at first, a few users noticed recommended apps showing up. Little suggestions for software they never installed. Microsoft called it helpful discovery. Users called it what it actually is, advertisements. By March, it was everywhere. Every Windows 11 installation started showing these recommendations. Some were legitimate apps. Many were bloatware, trial software, games with in-app purchases. All of it cluttering the interface users rely on to access their actual programs. Thomas Richardson is a systems administrator in Seattle managing IT for a mid-sized manufacturing company, 200 Windows machines. He starts getting tickets in March 2024. Users complaining about apps appearing in their Start menu they didn't install. Candy Crush, Disney Plus, Spotify trials. He investigates and realizes Microsoft is pushing these through Windows Update automatically. He can't believe it. These are corporate machines. Employees doing inventory management, CAD design, logistics planning. Microsoft is advertising mobile games to them through the operating system. He spends 2 days finding the group policy settings to disable it. He disables recommendations, disables suggestions, disables everything related to Start menu ads. 2 weeks later, Windows Update re-enables them. Microsoft pushed an update that overrode his group policy settings and turned the ads back on. He had to script a scheduled task to check and disable them daily because Microsoft keeps trying to turn them back on. That's when he starts planning the Linux migration. He's not fighting Microsoft's ad platform anymore. He's moving the entire company to Ubuntu, 200 machines. Microsoft lost a $40,000 annual licensing contract because they couldn't stop showing Candy Crush ads on business computers. But it's not just the Start menu. File Explorer got ads. You open File Explorer, the basic tool for browsing your files, and Microsoft shows you OneDrive upgrade prompts, suggestions to subscribe to Microsoft 365, recommendations for cloud storage plans. The file browser has advertisements now. The lock screen got ads. You log into your computer and see promoted content. Wallpapers advertising Microsoft products. Tips about Edge browser. Suggestions for Bing search. Your lock screen is a billboard. The Settings app got ads. You open Settings to change system preferences, and Microsoft advertises Edge, OneDrive, Microsoft 365, Game Pass. Every corner of the OS is monetized. Amanda Foster is a novelist in Dublin. She writes fiction full-time, working from a Windows 11 laptop she bought in late 2023. She's on deadline finishing a manuscript. She opens File Explorer to find her chapter files and gets hit with a OneDrive storage upgrade prompt. Full screen, blocking her access to File Explorer until she dismisses it. She's trying to work. Microsoft is trying to sell her cloud storage. This happens 3 times in 1 week. Different prompts, different ads, all interrupting her workflow. She's paying for this computer. She paid for Windows through the hardware cost, and Microsoft treats her like a free user who needs to be monetized. She finishes her manuscript and switches to a MacBook Air. She exports all her files, migrates to Scrivener on Mac, and never looks back. Microsoft lost a customer because they interrupted her work to sell cloud storage she didn't want. And here's what makes this truly insane. Microsoft is a trillion-dollar company. Windows generates billions in revenue annually. They don't need Start menu ads. They're not a struggling startup trying to monetize free users. They're one of the richest companies in human history, and they're running advertisements in the operating system people paid for. Why? Because they can. Because every user interaction is a potential revenue opportunity. Because Wall Street rewards growth, and showing ads to 1 billion Windows users generates growth. The actual user experience doesn't matter. Quarterly earnings matter. Internal Microsoft documents leaked in April 2024 show the ad strategy clearly. A presentation from the Windows monetization team titled Growing Revenue Through Integrated Promotions. The document outlines plans to increase ad placements across Windows 11 by 35% over 18 months. Target areas: Start menu, File Explorer, Lock Screen, Notification Center, Taskbar. Revenue projections: $2.1 billion annually by 2026 from in-OS advertising and promoted app installations. The presentation includes user sentiment analysis. Microsoft's own research showed 73% of users reacted negatively to Start menu ads. The recommendation from the research team was to reduce or remove them. The decision from leadership was to expand them because the revenue opportunity outweighed the user dissatisfaction. They knew users hated it. They did it anyway because money. The leaked documents hit tech news sites. The backlash was immediate. Users who were annoyed became furious. Microsoft wasn't listening to feedback. They were deliberately ignoring it for profit. The trust was gone. If Microsoft knows users hate something and does it anyway, what else are they doing against user interests? What data are they collecting? What features are they building not for users, but for revenue? The erosion of trust is the real damage. Once users believe the OS serves Microsoft instead of them, they start looking for alternatives. And the alternatives are ready. Linux in 2024 isn't the command line nightmare it was 15 years ago. Ubuntu installs easier than Windows. Linux Mint looks like Windows 7, familiar and clean. Pop! OS is optimized for gaming and content creation. All free. No ads, no forced updates, no data collection, no Microsoft account requirement. Your computer is yours again. Janet Kowalski is a retired teacher in Michigan. She's 68 years old, not a tech expert, just someone who uses a computer for email, web browsing, and managing photos. Her Windows 10 computer stopped getting updates. Microsoft told her to upgrade to Windows 11. Her computer isn't compatible. Microsoft told her to buy a new one. She doesn't want to spend $600 on a new computer when hers works fine. Her grandson visits for Thanksgiving and suggests Linux Mint. She's skeptical. Linux sounds complicated. He installs it in 30 minutes, shows her how it works. The Start menu looks like Windows. Firefox for browsing, Thunderbird for email, everything she needs. She's been using it for 4 months now. No problems, no ads, no Microsoft nagging her to upgrade, subscribe, or buy anything. She's happier with Linux than she ever was with Windows. Microsoft lost a customer to open source software because they prioritized selling new hardware over serving existing users. The Linux migration isn't just individuals. Businesses are moving. Entire school districts are moving. Government agencies in Europe are moving. The city of Munich famously migrated to Linux, then back to Windows, then back to Linux again. Why the flip-flopping? Politics and Microsoft lobbying. But the second migration to Linux is sticking because Windows 11 made it easy to justify. When the OS shows ads, when it requires internet connectivity for installation, when it forces cloud integration, organizations with data privacy requirements can't use it. The Munich city government manages data for 1.5 million residents. Tax records, legal documents, personal information. German privacy law is strict. GDPR compliance is mandatory. Windows 11's telemetry, cloud syncing, and Microsoft account integration created compliance risks they couldn't accept. They migrated 15,000 workstations to Linux, their custom Linux distribution. Munich's IT director said publicly the decision was about sovereignty and privacy. They needed control over their computing environment. Windows 11 took that control away, so they left. Microsoft lost a contract worth millions because they built the OS for data collection instead of user control. Here's where Microsoft's strategy falls apart completely. The ads and forced integration are meant to drive users toward Microsoft's subscription services. Microsoft 365, OneDrive, Game Pass, Xbox Cloud Gaming. The goal is recurring revenue. Get users into the ecosystem, keep them paying monthly. But it only works if users stay on Windows. If the experience gets so bad they leave the platform entirely, Microsoft loses everything. Not just the ad revenue, the subscription potential, the data collection, the entire relationship. And that's happening now. Steam, the largest PC gaming platform, publishes hardware surveys every month. They track what operating systems gamers use. In January 2023, Linux was 1.44% of Steam users. By December 2024, it's 2.03%. That's a 41% increase in Linux gaming in 2 years. Doesn't sound like much, but Steam has 120 million monthly active users. That's 2.4 million gamers on Linux now, up from 1.7 million. And the growth is accelerating. Proton, Valve's compatibility layer, lets most Windows games run on Linux seamlessly. Gaming, the last major barrier to Linux adoption, is gone. You can play Elden Ring, Cyberpunk 2077, Baldur's Gate 3, all on Linux with performance matching or exceeding Windows. Microsoft's gaming dominance is evaporating. Carlos Mendoza is a game developer in Argentina. He builds indie games, tests on multiple platforms, and ships to Steam. He used Windows 10 for years, upgraded to Windows 11 in mid-2024 because he needed to test compatibility. The experience was miserable. Ads everywhere, forced updates interrupting his work. OneDrive trying to sync his 40-gigabyte project folders without asking. Copilot indexing his code and slowing his SSD. He tolerated it for 3 months. Then he switched his primary development machine to Arch Linux. All his tools work. Unity, Unreal Engine, Blender, Visual Studio Code, all native or running perfectly through compatibility layers. His compile times are faster. His system is stable. No ads, no interruptions. He's never going back to Windows. He still keeps a Windows partition for testing, but he boots into it maybe twice a month. Microsoft lost a developer because they made the OS hostile to productivity. And developers are the canary in the coal mine. When developers leave your platform, the ecosystem starts dying. Applications get built for Linux and Mac first. Windows becomes the afterthought. We've seen this before with Internet Explorer. Developers abandoned it, built for Chrome and Firefox, and IE died. Now it's happening to Windows itself. Microsoft's internal panic is real. Leaked Slack messages from Windows Division employees in November 2024 show the concern. One senior engineer wrote, "User satisfaction scores are the lowest I've seen in 12 years here. We're losing market share to platforms that don't even advertise. Leadership isn't listening." Another employee, "The start menu ads were a mistake. Everyone knows it. But monetization team has more influence than user experience team now. Revenue targets override everything." A program manager. "I've had 3 friends switch to Linux this year. These are non-technical people. When my mom asks if she should try Ubuntu, we've lost the plot." Microsoft's leadership isn't oblivious. They see the numbers, they see the sentiment, but they're trapped by their own strategy. Wall Street expects growth. Cloud services growth, subscription growth, revenue per user growth. Windows as a standalone product doesn't deliver that growth. Windows as a platform to push subscriptions and ads does. So even knowing it's damaging user trust, they can't stop. They're locked into a strategy that's killing the product. The February 2025 update made it worse. Microsoft pushed a Windows 11 update that expanded Start menu ads to a new section called Recommendations for You. Full-width banner ads, video thumbnails for apps, sponsored content from partners. The Start menu became a shopping mall. Users erupted. Reddit threads with tens of thousands of upvotes demanding removal. Tech journalists calling it the worst Windows update in history. YouTube tutorials showing how to disable it getting millions of views. Microsoft's response. A blog post saying they're listening to feedback and will make adjustments. The ads stayed. The adjustments were making them slightly smaller. That's when the migration numbers spiked. DistroWatch, which tracks Linux distribution downloads, reported a 230% increase in downloads during the week after that update. Ubuntu downloads up 340%, Linux Mint up 410%, Fedora up 180%. Microsoft created the biggest Linux marketing campaign in history by putting ads in the start menu. Linda Harrison runs a graphic design agency in Toronto. 12 employees, all creatives using Adobe Creative Suite. They've been on Windows for 20 years. The February update hit their machines. Suddenly, everyone's start menu is filled with app recommendations, game ads, subscription prompts. Her designers are complaining. It looks unprofessional. It's distracting. It makes their workstations feel like cheap consumer laptops filled with bloatware. She tries to disable it centrally. Group policy settings don't stick. Registry edits get overwritten by updates. Microsoft doesn't want it turned off. She makes the call. The whole agency is switching to Mac. 12 Mac Studios, 12 Studio displays, full Adobe licenses for Mac. Total cost, $74,000. They migrate over 6 weeks. Zero regrets. The machines are faster, cleaner, no ads, no interruptions. Microsoft lost $74,000 in hardware influence and 12 Windows licenses because they wouldn't let a business turn off start menu ads. And this is the core problem. Microsoft doesn't treat Windows like a product you bought. They treat it like a service they're providing that you should be grateful for. You don't own your OS anymore. You're leasing it, and the terms keep changing in Microsoft's favor. Forced updates that reset your settings, features you disable getting re-enabled, privacy options getting buried deeper with every release, ads getting added without your consent. This is software as a service hostility applied to an operating system. Users are realizing they don't have to accept it. The online arguments are fascinating. Microsoft defenders say it's just a few ads, not a big deal, easy to ignore. But that misses the point entirely. It's not about whether you can ignore the ads. It's about the principle. You paid for the hardware. Windows came with it, or you bought a license. You own this. Microsoft treating it as an advertising platform without your permission is a violation of that ownership. It's like buying a TV and the manufacturer pushing ads onto your home screen. Oh wait, they do that too now, and people hate it just as much. The philosophical shift happening is users reclaiming ownership. For 2 decades, we accepted that software companies controlled the experience. We clicked agree on terms of service we didn't read. We accepted updates that changed things without asking. We let companies collect our data because that was the deal. That era is ending. Users are realizing they have power. They can choose operating systems that respect them. They can migrate. They can say no. And they are. Educational institutions are leading the exodus. Schools and universities that deployed thousands of Windows machines are rethinking everything. When your student computer labs show start menu ads for mobile games, that's a problem. When your library workstations nag users to subscribe to OneDrive, that's unprofessional. When your administrative systems run ads in the file browser, that's unacceptable. The University of Barcelona announced in March 2025 they're migrating 8,000 student workstations to Linux over the next 2 years. The official reason, reducing licensing costs. The real reason, according to the IT director's interview with a Spanish tech site, Microsoft turned Windows into adware, and we're not paying for that. We need systems that serve educational purposes, not Microsoft's revenue targets. Students don't need OneDrive ads when they're researching history papers. Faculty don't need Game Pass promotions when they're grading assignments. We're done with it. 8,000 machines. Gone. Microsoft lost an entire university because they got greedy. The irony is, Microsoft had this right before. Windows 7 was beloved, clean interface, stable, fast, respectful, no ads, no forced accounts, no cloud integration requirements. It just worked, and it worked for you. Microsoft could have built on that, kept the respect, added modern features thoughtfully, maintained trust. Instead, they looked at the success of ad-supported mobile apps and thought they could port that model to desktop operating systems. They were wrong. Mobile apps are free. Users tolerate ads because they're not paying. Windows isn't free. It costs $139 for a home license, $199 for Pro. When you charge users and then show them ads, you're double dipping. You're being paid for the product and paid again by advertisers. Users see that as greed, and they're right. Microsoft's quarterly earnings show record profits. They don't need the ad revenue. They want it. There's a difference, and users feel it. The technical problems make everything worse. If Windows 11 was faster, more stable, more secure, maybe users would tolerate the ads as an annoying trade-off. But it's not. It's slower than Windows 10 in many scenarios. It's buggier. Updates break things regularly. The October 2024 update broke USB audio for millions of users. The December update caused blue screens on systems with certain SSDs. The February 2025 update broke network printing. Every major update breaks something. Microsoft's quality control collapsed. They're pushing updates to 1 billion machines with testing that feels non-existent. Derek Foster is an audio engineer in Nashville. He records musicians, mixes albums, masters tracks. He uses professional USB audio interfaces, thousands of dollars worth of gear. The October update broke his audio interface drivers. Windows stopped recognizing his hardware. He's in the middle of a project, a deadline 2 days away, and his system is bricked. He spends 12 hours troubleshooting. Rolling back the update fixes it, but Windows keeps trying to reinstall the broken update automatically. He disables Windows Update entirely, works for 3 weeks. Then Windows overrides his settings and installs it again while he's asleep. Audio breaks again. He's done. He switches to a Mac Studio with Logic Pro. His interface works flawlessly. No driver issues. No forced updates. He finishes his project on time. Microsoft lost a professional user because they pushed a broken update and wouldn't let him opt out. This is the pattern. Microsoft breaks things, forces fixes that don't work, ignores user control, and wonders why people leave. The ads are the visible problem. The lack of respect is the real problem. Every decision Microsoft makes now prioritizes their needs over user needs. Telemetry collection, forced updates, account requirements, cloud integration, AI features, ads. All of it serves Microsoft. None of it was requested by users. Some of it actively harms the user experience. And Microsoft doesn't care because they're not selling to users anymore. They're selling users to advertisers and cloud services. The data collection is the foundation of everything. Windows 11 sends diagnostic data to Microsoft constantly. What apps you use, how long you use them, what websites you visit, what files you open, how you interact with the interface. Microsoft calls it telemetry. Privacy advocates call it surveillance. You can set telemetry to basic, but you can't turn it off completely. Even basic sends data Microsoft won't fully disclose. The EU fined Microsoft for GDPR violations related to Windows telemetry. Microsoft paid the fine and kept collecting data. That tells you everything about their priorities. Rob Chen is a privacy researcher in Taiwan. He analyzes network traffic from operating systems to see what data gets sent. He set up a fresh Windows 11 installation, disconnected from the internet, and did basic tasks: document editing, file browsing, settings changes. Then he connected to the internet briefly. Windows sent 4,672 data transmissions to Microsoft servers in 14 minutes. He analyzed the packets. They contained device ID, hardware specs, installed applications, usage timestamps, geolocation data from IP, and hashed identifiers he couldn't fully decode. This is on a fresh install with telemetry set to basic and no Microsoft account. That's the minimum data collection. He ran the same test on Ubuntu. 0 transmissions. Linux sent nothing because it doesn't spy on you. He published his findings. They went viral. Microsoft's response: the data helps us improve Windows. Rob's response: then make it optional. Microsoft's silence after that told everyone what they needed to know. The ultimate irony is Microsoft created this. Not competitors, not market forces. Microsoft's own decisions. They looked at a beloved product millions of people depended on and decided to turn it into an advertising and data collection platform. They knew users would hate it. They did it anyway. And now their shocked users are leaving. That's not a mystery. That's cause and effect. You disrespect your users. They find alternatives. Basic economics, basic human behavior. Microsoft forgot both. If this opened your eyes to what's really happening with Windows, share it. Tell people why the OS is dying, because Microsoft's marketing won't. They'll keep showing Surface ads with happy users, pretending everything's great. But the numbers don't lie. The migration is real. The anger is justified, and the future of Windows is genuinely uncertain for the first time in 30 years. Subscribe to see where this goes because it's only getting more dramatic. Microsoft either fixes this or loses the desktop entirely. Those are the only two outcomes left. And right now, they're sprinting toward the second one while pretending everything's fine. That's the story. That's why Windows is collapsing. And that's what nobody at Microsoft wants you to understand.